So you want a realistic, down-to-earth show that's completely off the wall and is swarming with magic robots.
Yes, that's exactly what I want.
You kids don't know what you want. That's why you're still kids, because you're stupid. Hello, welcome to Ignore the Bell. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Tyler.
You did not catch that. That is another reference to the Poochie episode of The Simpsons. We are reviewing slash reacting slash discussing Stranger Things season 3 episode 6. What is this one called? E Pluribus Unum? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically that quote I think really epitomizes what's happening with this show right now. It's going to be grounded, realistic, but completely off the wall and swarming with magic robots, right? Maybe not magic
Yes.
robots, but magic technology and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to have very serious, super serious moments with realistic characters that we really need to care about them, while at the same time having complete caricatures and parodic moments, right? Where it's a complete parody and silliness,
Yep.
and it's all going to be together in one show. Right. And
Yep.
if that sounds great, then you must be loving this season.
Oh, honestly, that's
Yeah. Make up your mind. What
yeah,
are
it
you?
is. Oh my goodness, it is all over the place at this episode.
Yeah. Because at least episode 5 was firmly in the we are not a realistic TV show anymore. This is complete silliness. It's a complete cartoon. This one is just doing that thing that I hate, which is like we are, we aren't, we are, we aren't, and it's just make up your mind, at least within an episode.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So we're gonna get into that as well as many other things, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, so we do have a sponsor for today's episode. Our sponsor is Soviet Truth Serum.
Yes.
If you are looking to force someone to tell the truth, but also be on ecstasy at the same time, Soviet Truth Serum is for you. And it's also got that wonderful glow that's totally realistic or hyper off the wall. Like, because that blue, like, whatever that was, I don't know. Yeah, Soviet Truth Serum. Get it today.
Yeah, in a universe that, has both things that make sense and also don't make sense.
Correct.
If you are living in that universe, kudos to you.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoy. All right, Stranger Things, season 3, episode 6, E Pluribus Unum. I don't know what to do. Like, what an unnecessary episode.
Yeah, it's all right, let's just, I guess, start from the beginning. So Elle faces off against
Oh, you know why? Because Will finally realizes the lights have been flickering for who knows how long. There's so much unnecessary dialogue in this episode. You get Will going, he's here. It's like, no, duh. Like, what happened to you having some kind of sixth sense? It's like, yeah, we got that. And then at another point in this episode, I'm not like, we'll stick with the beginning here, but at another point, then like, Mike doesn't want 11 to do this. And then she's like, ah! And she's like bleeding. And he's like, something's wrong. And it's like, yeah, no duh, Mike. All of this ridiculous dialogue where it's like, you guys are just saying the most obvious things possible. But okay. So yeah, Will, so intuitive, sees that something's seriously wrong and it's there. And then 11 is just able to go after this thing and just bam, 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 like,
Yep.
bam,
All
bam,
of a
the
sudden,
Flintstones.
all those stakes that we thought there were, all that, like, oh man, this thing is actually going to be a challenge for 11. Nope.
Yeah,
Never mind.
so much, so
She
much.
can just throw it out the window, and it's fine.
Uh-huh. And then the goo monster slides into the sewer, right?
Hmm.
So we're good so far. And then this is all still before you get into the actual credits. So this is the cold opening that you've got here. And then it turns into Austin Powers, where he has infiltrated Dr. Evil's secret underground lair that is also, gigantic and phallic looking, right? Do you know what I mean? Like that's Austin Powers, where it's like it's
Yeah.
this, secret underground thing, but it's also incredibly obvious what this is. Like I guess his secret underground thing was him like doing this, right? It was his
Right.
giant base, and it's like his secret base. So we cut to the secret base of the Soviets that is also insanely humongous. And they've managed to build this in heartland America without anybody knowing. And then they're just running around throwing barrels at these, Russians, like who can't catch them. And it's, two of them escape, and it's just Austin Powers. So.
Yep, absolutely. It's so weird and wacky. Um, I mean, honestly, I feel like every single episode is, I don't even know like what to compare it to, because like every episode, well, it's those old serials that we were talking about
Yes.
on the last episode, where every single episode seems to end with a huge cliffhanger,
Huh?
and then in the first 5 minutes of the next episode, it just completely winds it all down, and it's like, okay, that's done.
Exactly. Yeah, like, or like the end of Batman. Do you remember the original series from the 60s, right?
Yes.
Tune in next week. Will the Dark Knight survive while he's hanging off of a building? And then the next week, it's like, he just like climbs up and it's like, oh, good thing I escaped that. And it's like, I was waiting a whole week thinking Batman would die. And then immediately he's okay at the beginning of the next episode. But, invariably, he's going to be in danger again by the end.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, and we are going to get to this, but of course, at the end of this episode, it ends with virtually the exact same shot as last week's episode.
I know.
I just called it last week's episode.
Right. That's basically what this is. Because that's how it feels.
A Netflix series.
Right.
My Freudian slip.
No, but you're right. And it's one of those things of like, think about what we can do with narratives now that we've got this entirely different platform and mode of delivering these stories, that we can write stories in a way that we've never written before. Oh, until you get to the third season, and then it's just straight up garbage and it goes back to standard network television. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I don't know what they were thinking here. But okay. So
I want to keep going. Can we keep going? Because
yes, absolutely.
All right. So I want to talk about this before I forget. So then I'm pretty sure the next part is the mayor is presenting his own fair. Like he's got his name, as like the banner
Yes.
above it, like mayor or whatever presents the state fair or like the town fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, so good for you. And then he's in charge of everything somehow. It's like, that's not how fairs work, but okay. And then he has to go and meet Soviet Terminator guy, and they go into, I forget exactly what they've titled it, but like Enterprise, Gravitron,
Starship 2000, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't know how much of this you want to reveal about yourself, but I can say for myself, I have experience being a ride operator at an amusement park. I don't know whether you want to comment on that with your own.
Yeah, I have some experience there as well.
Okay, so let's just establish that. The ride is on. They get on this thing. There's no ride operator, and the ride just on. The lights and everything are going on inside. Why would that be the case? They go and meet in there, and then he just leans on the controls, and then it's off and running.
They're still setting up the fair.
Right?
Well, I do have to say, I saw a video recently of some vlogger who went to an amusement park, and he pointed out that one of their like kids rides, um, then it was on, but there was nobody around the ride. Like
Oh,
you could hear the engine on, like the
oh,
motor on, but there was nobody there. And he's just
uh-huh.
like, "This is classic Six Flags right here."
Yeah, that's not good.
um, yeah, it's like, why are you paying to keep the ride on if you're not going to pay to staff it? Like,
Right.
it makes no sense. But anyway,
Well, yeah. It just seems so like, okay, even if that's the case, did you really think that it added to tension by having Soviet Terminator turn this thing on while he strangles the mayor? And then it's like it makes it so much more intense because Soviet Terminator isn't dissuaded by spinning ride, but American, soft American mayor, he can't handle this. We're supposed to be like, stop the spinning. Like, who cares? That didn't make it more dramatic. What the hell was
yeah,
that?
I have no idea.
What was the
It
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, it's so stupid that, I hate in movies or TV shows or whatever, like when, a character is pushed into something and then they turn on this thing. And this is like an especially egregious, like, sin, if you want to call it that. Like, where it's just like, oh yeah, all it takes to turn on this ride is
Uh-huh.
for somebody to fall on the panel.
Right.
That's it. Like, no, like it's you need to do some amount of research into this. Like
I
if there
agree.
was like the ride operator or like the maintenance guy who was setting it up, standing outside and was like, like as soon as the door closed, then he went, "Oh no." Then that would at least be something because you can tell that, he was testing something or whatever, that it was in manual mode or
Uh-huh.
but no, it's just yeah, it's just gonna randomly turn on. Nobody's gonna care that it's that the ride is just moving while they're
Yeah.
still setting up the fair. And
And I couldn't help but notice how stupid it was because you could see it spinning and it was spinning at such a slow speed. Like, because you could see the thing from above, but they made it look like it was really fast by like having the glasses fly off. And I'm like, it's barely even moving. If you look at the shadow above that, like
yeah,
you'd barely be getting like more than 1G on that.
right. Who in the world has ever lost anything on one of those rides? Like, let alone sunglasses, right? Like, no. That those rides are not producing those kinds of like
No.
rapid forces. Because that's the thing, you would need rapid forces in order to knock like glasses
Uh-huh.
off, not
Yeah.
not slow speeding up and then like, oh my
Right.
goodness.
It was just such an example of like this kind of thing happens in a comedy, right? Somebody
Yes.
falls on the controls and then the machine is off and running. Something falls on the controls and it hits it in just such a way, but that belongs in a comedy because you're just like, it doesn't matter if it's realistic. It's funny that that thing is now on its own, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in
Okay.
what's supposed to be a grounded TV show, then it's like, okay, that doesn't make this more tense. Like, are you supposed is it supposed to be funny? I don't know.
I have no idea. Okay, so the one thing that we did skip over is that Steve and Robin are captured
Right.
by the Russians,
Right.
um, while they keep telling Dustin and Erica, "Just go on without me."
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Steve is able to, on his own, with his skinny body, he is able to stop like 8 Soviet soldiers from pushing in that door. He's able to push against it. It's incredible. It's
Yeah,
like a mother, where her child is like trapped under a car and she can somehow lift it up. Like, just to protect Dustin and Erica. He's got superhuman strength at this point.
yeah, but like, okay, wait, but where was Robin during that? I
She
feel like
kind
I.
of went off with Dustin and Erica, and then she came back to help him close the door.
Oh, okay. Um, but yeah, it was just like. I don't know. And then Dustin has that line of like, I'll remember you, or like, I won't forget you. And
Uh
I'm
huh.
like, I don't know if that was like, This is the point where I cannot tell whether that line was supposed to be a serious line
Uh-huh.
of, you know, him really being concerned about like, oh no, you're risking everything, or whether it was supposed to be classic Dustin, like doing this over the top thing. At this point, I cannot tell.
Right.
Was he
It's
quoting something or was he actually concerned?
I don't know either. It's again to refer to The Simpsons, and because The Simpsons have done such an amazing job, especially like I haven't watched The Simpsons in a long time, but the first 10 years or so of the show did such a great job of pointing out bad writing in television and movies, and so it's like, were you being sarcastic? I don't even know anymore, right? Like that's what this
Yeah.
is. Like, were you trying to be funny, or was that supposed to be serious? I don't even know. Like, we don't know when we're watching this. I don't think the characters know. Like, not even the characters, the actors. I don't think
Yeah.
they've got a sense of direction of what are they supposed to be doing. Is this supposed to be wacky and off the wall and just complete silliness, or is this supposed to be serious and intense? Um, yeah, like I don't know. It just feels like it feels so much like a comedy at this point at moments where it's like if Steve died, you would like cut to his like tombstone and it would say Steve the Hair Harrington. Like it would just because it's so ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, all right, so where do we go from there?
Well, I just wanted to say that it was completely unnecessary with the Terminator, Soviet Terminator, and the mayor. Because what was the point of that scene? It was to say, do a better job of finding Hopper.
Right.
Okay.
No, I mean, obviously that scene was written to introduce the carnival.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
I know that was it. Yep.
It's a totally functional scene. I don't know why you're complaining about
Yeah, I mean, they could have done that
it.
in just like an establishing shot of just start there and then it
Yep.
just cuts to underground and then you go
Right.
down into what's happening in the Soviet base underneath. Like without
Mm-hmm.
any dialogue, without any interaction amongst characters, you just see them setting up the fair. Or even if you start at the Soviet base and then you like go back up and then you see the fair and then it cuts to another scene. You
Yeah.
didn't need to spend that long for this nonsensical, like it didn't advance the plot in any way. Just
Yep.
like that, it was such a waste of everything. The waste of a production budget, waste of precious minutes within this very short season, waste of the viewers time. It did nothing. um
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, I just want to say, if you think that we are wasting our time by talking about this, the amount of money that Netflix spent to produce that 2-3 minute scene, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, it's such a waste. It's such uh an absolute, yeah, just waste of resources. Like
Yeah, I've been paying
I
my Netflix membership for like 8 years, and some of my money went towards that, and I'm very upset.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Okay. So we have all that establishing the fair.
Yep.
Um,
And then I think, what does it do next? Do we go to Hopper and Joyce and Alexi and
yes, yes, I believe that's right.
Murray Bauman, I want to say?
Yeah, yeah. So,
This was all super helpful. This entire interaction with them of, you get the whole translation and it's like, yeah, we know that's why you went there, for Joyce and Hopper to realize, like, I'm not saying that they as characters don't need to know what's happening, but we as
mhm,
viewers already know this. So you can skip over all of that stuff and you just have a very brief moment of saying, after, like, you can see that they've been speaking for a while and then Hopper's like, all right, so the Russians are here. Like, I gotta call whoever, right?
right. Yeah,
But instead, we wait almost the entire episode for Alexei to eventually spit out all of this stuff that we already know.
right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's but I mean, let's not forget that amazing product placement there uh, of Burger King, which I had told you
And
before.
Slurpee and all of this.
Oh yeah, yeah, but Burger King is important because they, are a sponsor and they are taking advantage of the show by having a special on the Upside Down Whopper, which
Oh,
is literally just the Whopper
sure.
turned upside down.
Oh
And
man,
it's served to you upside down.
it's Diamond Shreddies.
Yes. Yes.
Because they're
Oh my
not doing
goodness.
anything with it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yep. No, I know, and I noticed even Coca-Cola. It was a promoted ad on Twitter today that they have an ad and it's upside down. Have you seen that yet?
No, I don't think I've seen that
Yeah, the
one.
entire tweet is upside down. It's like it looks pretty cool because like that's why I stopped. I'm like, oh, what is this? And then I saw it's the fair from Stranger Things, and then all the writing is upside down and it's Coca-Cola. I don't know how they like did that, but obviously
Mm,
they worked with Twitter to figure out a way to do it
right.
as a paid ad. But no, I mean I've heard people complain about all of the product placement, especially in this season, and
Yeah.
it is. I am genuinely, I am not somebody who like I rarely am bothered by product placement. I
Yeah.
rarely have any issues with it, except when in this case it's a bit much in
Yeah.
this. Um,
Yeah. Because
it,
he comes okay, he holds the Burger King bag and we get a great close up of it.
oh yeah,
Um, that's fine. Whatever. Then he goes in and he says, "Here's your Whopper." Like it's so specific. It's
yeah,
Yeah, I saw that it was from Burger King. It's
right.
not just you threw a wrapped burger and said, "Here's your Whopper." Like
Right.
that would be one thing. But we already got the really close shot of the bag that says Burger King. We get
Right.
it.
And then you have the Slurpee and you had the icy in the
Yep.
previous episode and the amount of Coca-Cola that I've noticed in the show. And, Taco Bell is coming soon at the mall and,
Yeah.
all of these different things. And I mean, it's fine if I could overlook this if the show itself already wasn't just so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it felt like they were using that money that they were getting from all these product placements for something worthwhile. But no, instead they're spending it on these useless scenes that
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Exactly. That's the thing is that you've got these products in scenes that are just totally useless. Like Alexei in the previous episode, then he's sitting there in the car and you get that like shot of him like, isn't he cute? Isn't he funny? Like sipping on that icy. And then in the next episode, then it's like he gets his Slurpee and he's got his Burger King and he insists like, oh, well, strawberry isn't the same as cherry. And it's like, this is really all that you're doing though. You're just going to talk about real products and how great they are. Like it
Yeah.
literally just starts. It feels at times like these actors are just reading ad copy.
Yes. Yeah.
It it's here's your charbroiled Whopper, which is like served on a whatever bun and
Made to
yeah,
order. Here you go.
that's right. Available
Oh
for
man.
only blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Oh man, I only have this much money. Oh well, they're having it's always only this price. Like,
Right, exactly.
oh man,
Yeah, so that
yeah.
entire thing was frustrating. I did, if we just carry on with that particular storyline, I
Mhm.
did, I really appreciate the fact that Sam Owens comes up, that Hopper's got a number
Yes.
to call, that he's got a code name, and that it's obvious obviously part of the U.S. government. They've got this place where it's like you call there and they will they'll answer with this innocuous
Yeah.
greeting of, what is it, Philadelphia Public Library or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think that was it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, yeah, that's clever. That makes sense. And then, getting the message out to Sam Owens. And it's like,
Mhm.
good, because this is where I want the show to go, even though it is so absurd having all of these Russians who are there. Um,
Yep.
but it's like, good, let's bring in other people. And Sam Owens, I think, was a good character from season 2 one of the few good characters that we got.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay. I I'm still frustrated by the fact that like whatever his name is, Murray,
Yeah.
um, that he's just like, oh, you know what? The person that we're trying to get information from, he wants this. And I'm like, no, he's a prisoner. You guys have him captured.
Yeah.
Like, he's not in a position to be making demands. Like,
The whole
I
thing
don't.
is being played for laughs. The entire
Yes.
thing. It's like as if we're supposed to, like, I really
And
want to know, is there
we are Hopper. We are, you know,
yeah,
we're there going, it's the same thing. I don't care. Just tell us what you know.
right. And Hopper at his best is active Hopper, not passive Hopper. It's
Right.
when he is actively doing things to affect his will on other people. It's when he's punching people in the face and he's invading places that he's not supposed to be in order to actually get things done. And
Right.
yeah, the entire thing just came to a crawl, the entire plot. And again, I think that the writers and the producers and the Duffer brothers and all of them, I really do think that they thought that this was going to be funny, that we're going to just appreciate how funny this is. Ah, ha ha ha, that Soviet, he knows so much about American culture and he just loves that. And he knows the difference in flavors between this Slurpee and that Slurpee. And, you know, isn't this funny how he's making these demands? And it's like, no, it's not funny. No one is laughing. I don't think,
Yeah.
do you think there's a single person who watched that and laughed out loud when it's like, strawberry's not the same as cherry? Like anybody who went, ah, oh, that's so good. Like no one.
No.
It's the worst comedy. If they want to be a comedy show, get real comedy writers on here.
Yeah.
Don't get
And the
these
only
hacks. Because this is hack writing. This is hack comedy writing. Comedy, we haven't talked about it very much on the podcast, but I am a huge comedy fan. And I take that very seriously. This is hack comedy writing. It's atrocious if this is supposed to be funny.
The only way that it would get a laugh out of someone, I almost said a genuine laugh, but it would never get a genuine laugh. The only way that it would get a laugh out of someone is if you had a laugh track, and it would fit very, very well.
It would.
He said it's not the same as Cherry.
Yep.
And then people laugh along because
and then everyone kind of
psychology.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's it. It does feel like that. It feels like this show is begging for a laugh track.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So then Alexei, like, you know, almost leaves. He almost drives away because Hopper is like, don't worry. I know how people like these think. He's not going anywhere. And it's this whole long setup for a joke that doesn't happen. There goes the car. And then they step outside and he hasn't gone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're all supposed to laugh at some point there.
It's I don't get it either. It's I mean, I think I understand what they were going for, which is that, you know, we're supposed to be laughing because Hopper is, you know, boy, is his face going to be red. And then it's like, oh, it turns out that he's actually right. But I hate that kind of writing that you get on this show of a character who just has so much confidence. They're too cool for this show. He already knows what's going to happen before it happens. And like, because, Hopper all of a sudden has, you know, this huge insight into the psychology of, you know, defecting Soviet scientists. He's got a lot of experience with defecting Soviet scientists, you know, being the chief of police in Hawkins, Indiana. He knows exactly how these situations play out, even though he's never been in this situation in his entire life. But he's got 100% confidence. And because he does, like, they write it as if it's supposed to be funny, because that belongs in a comedy. This character who knows something that they really have no business of knowing. That's comedy writing.
So I appreciate that that Sam Owens gets involved.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
That we
he
at least
gets brought up.
Yeah, he gets brought up. Yep.
But my goodness, Joyce. Joyce calling back is
Supposed to
it's
be funny.
it's one of the worst things I've
It's really bad.
seen. Like, it's so bad.
Really bad.
She calls back and she's essentially playing the mother who is worried sick about her kids, talking to this person who is obviously going to actually be affected by her speech for some reason.
Oh, the way he just ends up deferring to her, it's like that is
Yeah.
absurd. That is so stupid. And this is where it's like this is not a realistic show. It's not even trying to be a realistic show because I guarantee you, no matter how hysterical you are, try to call any person who's working for the US military and cow them into submission where they're like, oh, okay, yes, absolutely, whatever you say. Like
Yeah.
that, like go ahead and try to threaten them or intimidate them. It's like see how far you get. That would
Uh,
never work. It will never ever work. And so it's supposed to be that worked. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's so funny that it worked. But
yeah.
it's not realistic. So it's completely off the wall and wacky with, magic robots. Okay.
Yep. And it's especially frustrating because I felt like that was such a good moment before when Hopper
It was
calls.
good. Yes.
Because, he's like, he doesn't remember what his code is, and he's just like, oh, I don't know what my, like, code name was. It was something. Murray is, like, trying to make a joke out of it, and it's like, yeah, we get it. It is funny that he had to, like, write it down and everything. Like, I don't need another character to point out, you wrote it down?
I
Like,
agree. That it's overwritten. So much
yes.
of this is overwritten. Yeah.
Yes. But it is really good to, see Hopper like call in
Yeah.
and be like, okay, tell him this. And then the guy just responds with, you know, your message will be relayed. Like,
Yep.
that's it. That was good. And then the phone hung up. And I
Uh-huh.
went, yeah, that is how that should go. And then
Yes.
Joyce calls back and I'm like, what is
And then it becomes
happening?
silly again. Exactly.
Yeah.
It went from, and part of the reason why it was good is that it advanced the plot to
Hmm.
a logical place. It was
Hmm.
done in a realistic manner. And,
Yep.
and it's like, and that's that. So that's what this show has been. When it's at its best, that's what it does. And then within the same scene went
Yes.
from being realistic and serious to being completely absurd and silly. And I don't get it. What do you want me to do? You want me to be like focused and really intense? And I was like, all right, this is cool. All right, Sam Owens is going to get involved. It's going to be the U.S. military. And then it's like, ah, ha, 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 there goes Joyce. And it becomes a sitcom. I
Yeah.
don't get it. I mean, this show won an Emmy. What the hell? What has this thing become? And it didn't win an Emmy for best comedy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they
No,
did. What did they
honestly,
win? It was like, because they did. I know they won.
yeah. Yeah, they definitely did. I don't remember what it was for
I'll,
either,
I'll look it
but
up while you're talking.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's so frustrating to see that. Like, it's again this tonal whiplash, but it's like I don't understand what they were thinking with that. With like, oh yeah, we have to have Joyce do something. Like, I guess that's what they were thinking. Joyce has to do something. But it's like, no, you didn't need to have her do anything. The
Right.
scene was perfectly fine. It could have ended right there, and Hopper said, well, we'll see how long it takes. And Joyce could have been like, what, that's all you're gonna do? That's all we can do. End of scene. That would have been a good, serious scene.
Yes, I hear you. Yep.
Oh man. You even could have had wacky, Murray be all like, oh, well, you never know with the US government. They'll take their sweet time.
Right.
Sure. Whatever. That would have been fine. That wouldn't have been too bad. But no, instead, then you have to have Joyce be completely off the wall and zany.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got it here. The first season, because of course I don't think they got anything for the second season. If they even got nominated for the second season, that'd be a travesty. But The series' first season cast won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series.
Okay. All right, then.
Yeah. Do you think that this ensemble cast really should get the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance in a drama series?
None
Literally.
of that is accurate.
None of that is accurate at all
Absolutely none
anymore.
of that.
But it
Yeah,
was in the first season.
it was.
And now what the hell is this? I don't know if I've ever seen a show make this kind of a transition this quickly. Like I just briefly, we won't get into this, but briefly, like you and I were having this conversation off air before, and I'll just bring it up that I watch Supernatural, you don't, but Supernatural has slowly made the transition, but it took them like 80 episodes and like 6-7 seasons before you started getting outright silly episodes, and it was done in a fairly natural way, and it makes sense within the story universe of how you get to those silly episodes. And even then, in specific episodes will be kind of silly, and then it'll flip back. You know, but this is trying to do something so incredibly quickly that it is so hard to know how to even respond to the show anymore.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and then all right. Yeah, so that's the whole thing there. Then we go to see 11 and the gang. And 11 has the whole box of tissues. She keeps wiping the blood away from her nose.
Yeah, because she just gets little nosebleeds, and she's not getting fatigued by this, even though she was in the first season when she would use her powers that this would drain her in some way. But now it's like, I guess she has to worry about a blood loss, but that's it. And even that, does she? Because she doesn't seem to be getting worn down. Like, why doesn't she just, like stick a tampon in there? Like, because like why just keep wiping? Other than like they need to show us how long she's been at this for, but she seems completely unaffected aside from the pile of tissues.
Yes, it's also a complete waste of tissues because it doesn't look like she uses them. She doesn't use the whole tissue either.
Right.
But yeah, it's just such a weird thing to see. Anyway, and then the rest of the gang is outside. Oh, she's been at it for a while. Yeah, we just saw the whole pile of tissues.
Overwritten. Yep.
Oh, she can't do this. It'll drain her. Yeah, we know that from the past 2.5 seasons.
That's been clearly established. Although you guys don't seem to be following that rule anymore. But yeah, that was clearly established.
Yep.
Yeah. And so all of it, and the entire thing is so unnecessary. Like that's why I'm saying that this is the most unnecessary episode in the season so far. And really because you get almost nothing in the way of advancing the plot. And even with this, like all that you got, and this is where I don't want to spend too long on this because I don't think it deserves much of a discussion because it's just so crappy. But okay, 11 finds Billy in the, I don't even know what it is, but in the psychic realm, she finds Billy, right? When she's in like the all black universe where she's walking on the wet, surface, whatever it is, finds him. He grabs. Okay.
I fell asleep at this point.
I don't blame you.
We were talking about this before we started recording, that both of us were falling asleep as we were watching this episode. And yeah, we were watching it late at night.
But we both paused partway through, went to bed, and then tried again the next day after a full night's sleep.
Yes, because we just it's like,
and this was separate. Like we're clearly we're not watching in the same place. Like we didn't coordinate that. Just with a little survey here, 2 out of 2 respondents fell asleep partway through this episode. That's not good.
No. Oh man.
That this is I think that just gives more evidence to the fact that whatever they think is happening in this episode, it is not compelling. It's not funny. It's not interesting. It's
Yeah.
I didn't even find it incredibly like frustrating. It was just like, this is so dumb. Like
Yep.
it's just kind of like I'm at the point of like indifference, right?
Right.
And that's not good, because it's gotten to the point, like I'm the same way with The Walking Dead, that I mean I really like the comics, and I've spent a lot of time thinking and talking about The Walking Dead. I don't watch it anymore, and it's not because I hate it. It's just that I'm like, I just don't care. It
Yeah.
stopped being interesting a long time ago, and so I can't be bothered to watch. I'm kind of, yeah, this episode made me feel that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Um,
she basically contacts him. He freaks out and grabs her because, of course, he does. Because you had they introduced the gun in Act 1, so it's got to go off at some point in this episode. Mike and Max are arguing about what 11 is capable of doing. Mike thinks that she's pushing herself too hard. Max is like, how dare you? She can do whatever she wants. She's an independent woman, and you get this
yep.
whole ridiculous
Yep.
thing that it's like, okay, I guess Max has been reading Cosmo or something, because she's got all this insight into like a complex issue within like a marriage. But okay, she knows what's happening with these 13-year-olds. Okay, that's
Yep.
it. And so anyway, then so of course he grabs her, and then she seems unsafe, and then this is where it is so terrible. I was so like, just, what is this, where it's you okay, we find out, turns out Psychobilly had a bad childhood.
Yeah.
Wow, we never knew that, except from everything we've seen up until this point. And what did that do for the plot?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Like,
It
we
was.
learned that his dad was abusive when he was a kid, that he had a good mother, he had happy moments, but then his dad was a jerk. Yeah, you already established that. Like, all of
Yep.
that. It was already
Yep.
established. And what
Yeah.
does 11
I.
do with that information? Now she can stop the mind flayer because she's like, so your father, he was really hard on you. Why is that? Like,
Yeah. So I just I would like to say that I did actually find it to be a really powerful moment when she was falling backward, about to hit the water, and like when she hit the water and everything, and I went, oh, this is really crazy. And then she wakes up on like the Inception beach.
yes, yes.
That's all I kept thinking. I was
Uh-huh.
like, wow.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was like, wow, this is really, really good. And then it's like, oh, we're looking at Billy's childhood. It's like, oh, that's California. Oh no, we're gonna get into this. Like I
Uh-huh.
literally had that moment where I was like, oh, it's really, really good. Oh, you ruined it right away. Um, yeah, and we get so it it felt like, I don't know, 11 was finding out that maybe the mind flayer, the way he works is by taking those bad memories and using those to like grab onto the mind of whoever. Like, I don't know. That's
Okay.
all I got from that.
Okay. No, all right, you got a lot more out of it than I did. At the second, no, and you might be right, that like you genuinely might be right, but I look at that and then I'm just like, I don't care about his childhood.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like they were it feels like they were trying to correct themselves from season 2, where people were like, hey, we don't like Billy, he's a real jerk. Even with that one scene, that doesn't redeem him. They're like, oh, okay, we need to show more of it then. And this was their way of showing more of his
Right.
past. And
Yeah.
it's just like, no, that's not the problem with him, though. We
Right.
don't need to see more of it. It
Right.
just doesn't work.
Like, okay, think about it this way. I I probably shouldn't use an extreme example, so I won't use the most extreme example. But let me use a smaller example. Let's say some serial killer. okay, so he's like killed like 10 people, and then it's like, you know, like, oh, he's a terrible person, he should be imprisoned for life, or, you know, he should be executed. And then it's like, but then we get a whole movie showing like how like he had a bad childhood, and we look at him and we go like, oh, poor sweetheart, it wasn't his fault, he hardly stood a chance, but he killed 10 people. It's like, yeah, but his dad was a real jerk. Like, honestly, do you think that that redeems what a person does? Like, at a certain point, each individual has to take accountability for their own life. And so,
Yeah.
yes, you might have really crummy circumstances, a really tough upbringing, but that doesn't mean that you get to do whatever you want and we just continue to be sympathetic. Like,
Right.
he's not
Yeah.
becoming sympathetic by showing his childhood. The only way he becomes sympathetic is if he starts doing good things.
Right. Yes.
He's not going to become sympathetic from his past. It's only going to be his future, and then you can kind of pair that with the past. And I honestly think that that's what they're going to do, because the writers seem to really like Billy. I don't know if fans do, but the writers seem to see, like, I think he's going to, you know, try to somehow try to work for the good side. If anybody's in danger of, like, you know, laying down their life sacrificially, I think he's the only one at this point where I could see that happening, even though it'd be totally stupid and it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, hey, anything that gets him to be killed off,
Right.
I can get behind.
Right, exactly.
If they want to try to make it this sappy, you know, oh, he's sacrificing himself, I'll just be sitting there going, yes, burn!
That's right. That's right. Exactly. I hear you. So actually, really well visually, it was a cool. That's good the way they wrote it down. It's kind of like in what's the I can't get out. Get out when like he falls, like when, like, you know, you get the teacup going, right, and then like he like falls back into the black. It kind of was that aesthetic, that visual aesthetic that you get when Eleven's falling back.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the storm that she goes into on the beach, I was kind of having hope. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to learn something about the mind flayer, but no, it's just more of Billy's traumatic childhood. I think you're right, though, that like if they're going to pull this into the plot in some way, it's going to be, oh, so that's how it takes advantage of people. And it's like, it hardly seems like it's like, is that how they do it? Or is it that it has the thing from Alien that sucks onto like your face and then it implants something in you? But if you don't have childhood trauma, or if you've gone to enough therapy, then you can withstand the mind flayer. Is that where we're supposed to feel, like what we're supposed to feel at this point?
Yeah.
I'm immune. I'm so like mentally healthy. You can't get me.
Man, the exact opposite of Split.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I know. I don't know at this point, like, and who knows if we'll ever find out the way this series has been going.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's basically all that we have there. I mean, do we get anything else with them? What else happens with those guys?
Billy once again says,
"Oh, we know
along
where
the
you
lines of,
are."
It's time. Yeah, it's been time for like the last 3 episodes.
Right. Exactly. It's yeah, I know. That's basically it. It's yeah, when I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens, this, you know, ridiculous drunk guy in the theater. I know I've told you this before, but he just, like, he was so drunk and he just kept shouting at the screen, like every scene transition, here we go. And that's what this season feels like. We're like, Billy, it's like, all right, here we go. And then it's like the next episode, we're almost ready. And then the next episode, the time is now. And it's
when
like,
they're gonna get to the fireworks factory.
Exactly. They're never getting there, but they're just gonna keep teasing us with it. Yeah, it's like that mathematical like principle of like, if you continue to divide, you're never actually gonna get to zero.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You just divide into.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you keep thinking you're getting closer, but it's never gonna happen. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I want to bring up one thing that's completely unrelated because it just bothers me so much. In the Big Bang Theory,
sure.
then Sheldon at one point says, "What part of an inverse tangent function don't you understand?" And it's like, yeah, but an inverse tangent function functions the same way as a regular
Yeah.
tangent function. I'm like, you
Yeah.
only put inverse in there so that it sounded more scientific. Like, anyway, that's a perfect example of why that doesn't work. That show is not the greatest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
sorry.
yeah,
Asymptote,
no,
you can
no,
think of that.
no, 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 that's fine. I look at this and then it's like ultimately all that we get at the end of all of this, all of like seeing his childhood trauma, seeing 11 with the Kleenexes, and them like waiting, them having the fight over what she's capable of doing. It's just them literally sitting around only for this advancement in the plot. We know where they are now, or we know where you are. It's like that's
Yeah.
all that we got is like, oh, okay. Ooh,
Yeah.
really?
It's like you found them before in the hospital at the
Yeah,
beginning of this episode.
right. Right. Yeah. You've kind of found them a couple times, in fact. But no, you found them from the psychic realm, and therefore that can apply to whatever. Oh, okay. So that's why I'm saying this is just such a stupid, unnecessary episode, and it's the comedy is not working. I felt like at least episode 5 was so ridiculous that some of it I'm like, I'll roll my eyes and just go, all right, this is like a really bad Austin Powers movie, but it's entertaining. But this
Right.
is just, it's like it's attempting to go back to being serious, but nothing's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And the other thing that the other thing where nothing is happening is that the Russians are interrogating Steve
Huh.
and Robin because we haven't talked about this yet, and we kind of keep going back to them throughout this episode. Uh, who do you work for? Scoops Ahoy. How did you find out about us? Honestly, kind of by accident.
Hmm.
Like, yep, he's telling the truth.
Yeah, that's with the truth
Okay,
serum.
we. Well, then they give
The
it because he says all that. Sorry, you cut out there.
I was already telling. Go ahead. Are you
Oh
not hearing me?
no, sorry, we're having a bit of a disruption with the internet connection. I think we're good now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, so it's before the truth serum, then Steve basically tells them everything,
Hmm.
tells them the truth. Then they give him the truth serum, and he says the exact same thing, except now he's, totally loopy.
Yeah, he's on ecstasy. Him and Robin, they're just like, ooh, this feels so good.
I don't
And
think
they'll
the
tell the
truth
truth.
serum was working. Nothing's happening. Wait, something's totally happening. Like,
Yeah. Like, aside, I had such a hard time with, okay, so these Russian Soviet scientists, they've got a truth serum. Okay, so we're definitely not in our universe anymore. But okay, and then they inject them with it. So I had such a hard time getting over that ridiculousness. But then they actually like that whole thing of them being loopy on it. I'm like, it almost worked for me as comedy.
yeah, yeah, I
Almost.
can see
If it
that.
if it weren't for the fact that I was so frustrated by this whole truth serum, like, you know, principle that like that's how they're getting there.
Right. And I mean, there are, different chemical compounds that, like in our world, that are used during interrogations in order to help people relax and give out the truth a little bit more easily. Um, but you know, I don't know. It does seem like they gave it to them and was like, this is a foolproof plan. It'll definitely make them spout nothing but the truth.
But those Russian guys, like with their ridiculous laughter, do you know what I mean? Like
Oh
this is
yeah.
it's such
That was
it,
that was atrocious, honestly. That was there
it
because they were like so serious and it's like, "Oh, how are they going to respond? How are they going to respond?" It was the whole like the music is I'm
uh-huh.
like, "What? Did you
And
just laugh
literally,
in my face?"
yeah, and literally the leader of it, then he he basically prompts them to laugh because the other guys don't even know what they're saying. And it's
Right.
so stupid. It's like this is like cartoonish villains, right? Like these
Yes.
are villains that you would
It's
see in a
Boris
cartoon.
Badenov.
It is. It really is. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's so silly. I don't even know what to say with it other than okay, like this isn't Stranger Things anymore. Like
Mhm.
it's a whole other show.
Yep. Yep. And all right. I'm curious as to your predictions about I mean, obviously, 11 is going to face off against the Mind Flayer this gross, weird flesh beast thing
Uh-huh.
at the carnival. Um and but what is going to happen with Steve and Robin?
Well, they just got rescued, essentially, but whether they're going to get recaptured because Dustin and Erica came in and remember Dustin like zapped
Oh
the guy.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, the Soviet scientist dude with like the apron on. Like, I
Yep.
mean, just a complete like caricature of this. It's
Yep.
such a stereotype. Yeah, that he goes in and he like zaps the mad scientist. Um, so you get that, and then um, yeah, presumably, like, and then, like, I don't know, it seems like they're maybe going to be able to escape at this point and then go and tell everybody else that, we know where this is. So, Sam, because Hopper's contacted them. I don't know. I guess I feel like that's where it's going. There was a really good
Yeah.
continuity error in this episode. I don't know if you noticed it with error.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so her and Dustin, they come up out of the ventilation, ductwork, and
Mhm.
yeah, because like, and they're like, everything that she says is just bad dialogue, right?
Mhm.
He's unscrewing it. You've been doing that for a while. You want me to do you even know what you're doing? Like all of this stuff, and then like you're a nerd. You can calculate that in your head. Oh, apparently she's a math whiz.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, like I know that I know that it's such a triggering term, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I'm not like trying to, exploit the word, but this triggers the response. But she's such a Mary Sue. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like she can do anything. She can match wits with any adult. She is sassier than you can possibly imagine. She's also a math genius who's too cool to care about this stuff. She's not scared by anything because, you know, she just isn't intimidated by anything. And I don't really, it's just she's such an unrealistic character. And they continue to
Yeah.
do this because like I don't really like the term Mary, because I think that you can have that within a comedy. This isn't
Right.
working. Like
Yeah.
you can have unrealistic characters who are just capable of doing these like absurd things,
Yeah.
but it depends on to what effect. What's the purpose of that? And
Right.
this is like I don't know. It's supposed to be funny. Supposed to like I don't know if this is supposed to be endearing. We're just like oh now I like her because she's a nerd just like them. Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It did feel like, oh, okay, so she just knows literally everything.
She knows everything. She is a genius, and she is above everyone. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, we are honored to even witness her, like to be in her presence, because she is just everything. But anyway, so she comes up out of the ventilation ductwork with Dustin, wearing her flashlight helmet, and then he starts walking. She's got no helmet. It's strapped to her backpack. It's literally strapped in and it's hanging from the backpack. And then the next moment you see her, and then she's got it back on her head. Like, so anyway,
Wow.
I'm not trying to nitpick, but I'm just like, it shows, like, I did not notice any continuity errors in season 1. I don't know if you did. I'm sure somebody has, combed through it and has found something, but like it just feels like at this point, like, I expect to see like the boom mic showing up at the top of the screen and like some extras on set just standing around in the corner eating a donut from craft service,
Yep. All 6 pages of useless dialogue. Yeah, that's
yeah, like an actor's like flipping through the script and they say their line. Like, it just it feels just so like nobody cares anymore. They're not taking this seriously anymore. They're like, that's how it feels. It's like with the first season, it felt like they were trying very hard to make a very good show that would hold up to critical scrutiny. And now it's just like they can't even figure out, like, was she wearing a helmet in this? And it's like, because they obviously shot it multiple times where sometimes she's not wearing the helmet, sometimes she is. And then when they edited it together, I guess they didn't have a good shot of her wearing the helmet. So they're like, no one will notice. And it's like, and I don't even pay super close attention. Like, I don't watch movies like, I guess it's CinemaSins. That's like the biggest channel for that, right? With pointing out continuity errors. Like, I don't watch movies like that, like looking for that. And I really noticed. I was like, wait, how did her helmet, because her helmet is so ostentatious. How did it come off? Like, why is she not wearing it? Because she continues to wear this thing. And then it was strapped to her backpack and it was like seconds. And then it's on her head again. Because I had to pause it going, where did her helmet even go? And then it was back on her head. And like, okay.
Yeah, at that point, I think I was already starting to kind of doze off. I mean, anytime Erica is on screen, that seems to have that effect on me.
Yeah. It just seemed like I said, it just seems like even the production crew, I don't know if they believe in the show anymore.
Right. I mean, honestly, stuff like this makes me wonder if the show would be better if it were a network TV series. I feel like it would be, because they would be able to, sort of adapt or adjust things as the season went on.
Yes.
Their cliffhangers would work a lot better.
Yeah.
But instead they are sticking with Netflix. Netflix, I don't think, is wanting them to go anywhere. They just broke all these records.
Did they?
Yeah, they. It's the most viewed movie or TV series within the first 4 days.
So it destroyed Bird Box, which is another garbage Netflix production.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, Stranger Things 3 is literally like, Emmy worthy compared to Bird Box.
Right. Yeah, and about a third of people already finished watching Stranger Things 3, like the entire season.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I feel like the other 2/3, like, they'll maybe get around to it eventually, but they're not interested anymore.
Right. I just feel like I'd be really curious to know, and I don't know, because Netflix is very secretive about their numbers, but I imagine that there's a good deal of that the demographics have shifted a lot compared to who was watching and binging the first season to who is watching and binging the third season. Because I just find it really hard to believe that it is the same people who absolutely loved season 1 who are still enjoying this show. That's really hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because it's just so different. I don't have any, like, if people really are enjoying season 3, then it's like, that's fine, but I don't see those people also really enjoying what season 1 is.
Right. Yep. Man, I really wish that I could rate individual seasons of this, rather than just, oh, did you like this series? Like, Uh, I'm starting
Yeah.
to change my mind about that. So
And yeah, if it was a network show, I think they would have better numbers on it,
mhm.
because you get to see the weekly ratings and you get to, um, yeah, because people will tune in, like it will fluctuate. Whereas
Right.
with a show like this on Netflix, and people are just going to go from beginning to end, but
Mhm.
you don't know if people hated some of the episodes in the middle. Whereas if it's traditional television, then you can see, yeah, we started here, and then by the second commercial break, our numbers were here. Those people just
Right.
didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, yeah, people are probably doing like what you did, where it's like you just kind of stopped paying attention partway through this episode. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've done that too multiple times, like certainly with, episode 7 from, season 2. Then
Hmm.
like that one, I barely paid attention to it because I'm like, what's the point? This has nothing to do
Yeah.
with the plot. That's how this whole thing felt. I was just like, this entire episode. It's like, and I said that before. I don't know if we said it when we were recording yesterday or not, but as far as predictions, like, and what we were expecting with episode 6, and I said, I don't think it's going to be very good. And I think episodes 7 and 8 are probably going to be good because we're going to get plot again. But I
Right.
imagined that we're going to get one big, episode of just like not much happens, but don't worry, it's gonna get good by the end. And I just
Right.
feel like then make it a 7 episode season.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. And the one thing that I do want to briefly talk about is the I don't even know if it's almost comical or if it's outright comical seeing, like all the flayed walk toward the mind flayer and
Uh-huh.
just topple over and melt into puddles.
Yeah.
Like that seems really creepy on paper, but like I don't know. At this point, I don't know if I'm supposed to take it
I
seriously.
totally
And
hear
just
you.
one after
Right. Right. Yeah, I hear you. I felt like that entire thing was just so unclear of what they were going for. And Stephen King has written, a fair bit about this, about the close relationship between comedy and horror. That
Mm,
if horror is done wrong, it becomes comedy. Um,
right.
and that like and there's such a fine line between those two, and I agree. I think like on paper it sounded good, but then you're watching it and like I thought it was kind of funny. Like
Yes. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the music video for Another Brick in the Wall, where like
mm,
all the kids are
they're just like
stepping,
into the
yeah,
sausage thing where they
yeah,
get ground up and then they come out. Yeah.
yeah, except that we don't care about any of these people,
Except
really.
for Mrs. Driscoll. Like they
Right.
really like
Yeah.
went in on her, and then I'm like, is this supposed to be one of those like, oh, but I'm like, I are people
We
reacting that way?
still
Am
we
I supposed
still
to
don't
react that way? We don't even
no,
know
we
if
still
it's actually her or if it's a
yes.
copy of her.
Yeah.
That's
Um
exactly it.
Because
That's
if
why it's
if
hard to
if these are the
care.
actual people, then oh my goodness, you are killing so many people, like just outright killing them.
Right.
Um, and like that's kind of a bold move, but I don't know that it really affects anything.
It'd be a
Um,
bold move if this had any implications within the story universe, because we've been
right.
saying this before, like where our little bit of criticism with season 1 is if you add up how many people have disappeared, it was like 7 people disappeared because they make
Mhm.
references to the hunters who've disappeared. There were those guys, there was Barb, there was Will, and there was the Benny from the
Right.
diner, right? There was like a fair number of locals who died or disappeared, and everything just kind of kept going on as normal. And then I'm like,
Right.
that doesn't seem very realistic in a small town. Like even
Yeah.
one death can, like, people are going to talk and they're going to be unsettled by one death in a small town, like a violent death or a disappearance. Um,
Yeah.
but
Which is
then,
how season one framed it, you know? where like Hopper says like, man, there hasn't been this since
Yeah.
like, 69 or whatever. There
Yeah.
hasn't been this since 80, like, or whatever, like
Yeah.
47,
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah, it's been forever since something like that has happened.
Yeah.
And now, like, and nobody else is realizing what's happening to the other Flayed, apparently. Because there's like the one person who's like at the carnival, right? Who just like suddenly is like, I must go now. It's just like, where are
Right?
you going?
Uh-huh.
You don't
Yeah.
follow them. You're just like, hey, okay, you're just leaving. All right.
No, I hear you. That's basically it. It's that they are basically like it seems like the reason why people don't know what's going on is that they are acting as pod people from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and they're just putting in all the requisite appearances that they have to make, that they're going to work, they're showing up at home every night, eating dinner, sleeping in their bedroom, all of that stuff, but it's not really them. But it's like, well, is it a copy of them or is it the real person? And what happens when they get turned into goo? Can they go back to being their own self? Like, do you know what I mean? It
Yeah, no, I absolutely know what you mean. And I know, like, the rules here have not been established. We don't
no.
know what's happening. Like, maybe the rats were supposed to be our explanation, but no, like, that did not help because we didn't know
No.
what was going on with the rats either. So I still don't know. Are these copies? Are these just, pod people or what? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
I want
So
to know. I don't know that we will find out.
yeah, it's like, but I think if you ask the writers, it's like, so what are these? If you like presented it, is it the actual person, but their mind has been taken over, but it's still their physical body and they're in there somewhere? Or are they a copy, right? That their physical body like has been killed in some way, and then it used the goo from somewhere else to copy this person, and their dead body is lingering somewhere. I think if you ask them, they'd be like, I don't even know.
Yeah, they'd
Like,
be like, that's a really good question.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't think that they know the answer to this, and I don't think they've even thought it through,
Yeah,
because with the show that is overwritten and explaining things that are so obvious, I feel like they would have told us if they knew what this was, but I don't even think they've thought through it.
right. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Well, I guess we'll man, at this point I kind of want to treat episodes 7 and 8 as a 2-hour season finale.
Oh,
But
maybe, yeah. We'll talk
uh
after we finish
yeah,
recording.
well, yeah, we'll see about that. But on to episode 7, The Bite.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, 7. I hope that like episodes 7 and 8 that we at least have decent plot, which I expect we will, because they've done that in the last, like in the first 2 seasons. Then
Yeah.
the last 2 episodes tend to be pretty focused. So hopefully we'll see what kind of tone we get. Is this going to be like, I'd be good with like a completely absurd, ridiculous Austin Powers type of thing. I'd be good if they did attempt to go back to something serious. But at this point, I honestly am just at the point where I'm like, I kind of hope that they just treat it as a silly show from now on, because
Mhm.
that's easier to accept than for it to be as stupid as it's been and then go back to being intense and well written and dramatic, right? That it's like it's
Yeah.
really hard to go back to that. But you can, since you've already made all of these ridiculous choices, why not just go all in and just say, we're now a comedy?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you folks can respond below. You can like, if you can say like, what are you talking about? I cried when Mrs. Driscoll like flopped down and went blah, 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 and turned into goo. Like I was just weeping. And yeah, like if that's actually how you reacted, please tell me, but don't
Yeah.
lie. Like
Right.
genuinely, like if you felt that way, then okay. Because maybe we're totally misreading this, but we're definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I am very curious to see, to watch other reviews and
Yeah.
hear what other people think.
Yeah.
But I'm still staying blind until,
Me too.
afterward.
Yeah, I haven't
So,
looked at any of that stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm curious as well how other people have responded to this. But yeah, like I say, folks, feel free to comment. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Ignore the bell, people. We're gonna keep going. We're still ignoring it. Don't worry. I I don't know what that. I think that's the fire drill. All right. We're gonna go home. Yeah. All right. We're done.